Hi, my name is Cochran, and today we're going to talk about the ankle and ankle mobility. So are you an individual that suffers from knee pain, ankle pain? When you squat down, your knee tracks over your toes and your heels come off the ground? If that is the case, we may have some mobility issues within the ankle joint. Now, the ankle joint actually is able to perform multiple movement patterns: dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion, plantar flexion. So basically, I have multiple ranges of motion associated with the ankle joint. Now, if I'm having issues with the ankle and the surrounding structural components, be it soft tissue and such, which is causing limited ranges of motion and mobility, what I want to look at doing is I need a two-step process to increase the range of motion within the ankle joint. So that being said, what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at creating elongation or extensibility in the soft tissues. And in addition, I'm going to do some dynamic range of motion exercises for the ankle. So basically, step number one, we're going to do extensibility or static stretching for basically the muscular structures that integrate or connect into the ankle. And then secondly, we're going to do some dynamic range of motion exercises, which are going to improve those components of inversion, eversion, dorsi, and plantar flexion. So to begin this whole process, like I said, we're going to start with the extensibility exercises, and then we're going to add those dynamic or corrective exercises on top. So we are back, and we're actually going to look at creating that extensibility within the muscles that are associated with the ankle. So I basically have two muscle groups that are associated with the ankle. I have the gastroc and the soleus. So what I want to do is I want to do specific exercises, flexibility exercises for each of those muscle groups. And some concepts or basically guidelines when I perform a extensibility or static stretch. What I want to do is I want to take the muscle to what we call its tissue tension point. And this is where I'm going to feel a stretch within those fibers. So not only do I need to get to that position, but we have what we call time under tension component. So in order to create greater extensibility in those muscle fibers, I have to hold that end range of motion for at least 30 seconds. So this is where I see most individuals error when it comes to flexibility exercises, is they don't hold the exercise positions long enough to basically create extensibility in the soft tissues. So that being said, we're going to take an exercise, we're going to perform it for one set, and I want you to hold that tissue tension point for at least 30 seconds. So the first exercise I'm going to do is going to be for what I would call my gastroc. Very common, we hear this as the calf stretch all the time. So I'm going to use a wall. You could use a machine, whatever you need, but you need to brace against something hard. So when I perform basically my gastroc exercise or my gastroc stretch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically get into a lunge position. Now from here, what you can see, I'm stretching my left gastroc. So with that being said, my toe is pointed straight into the wall. And then from this position, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend the right knee, put my hands on the wall, and basically I'm going to feel like I'm pushing into the wall. So I'm going to push into the wall, bend the right knee till I feel a stretch on that left gastroc. Now when I do this, what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to let the heel come off the ground. What that does is basically take the tension off the muscle that I'm looking to create extensibility or to stretch. So exercise number one is going to be my gastroc stretch. So again, get in position, heel glued to the floor, toe straight, and then I'm going to bend my right knee and push into the wall till I feel a stretch in my calf. Now when I get to that tension point, as we talked about previously, I'm going to hold that position for 30 seconds. Now for this video, we're obviously not going to hold for 30 seconds, but I'm going to come back out of the position, and then what I would do is I'd switch to my right leg. Same concepts, right toe pointed straight, right heel on the ground, push into the wall till you feel a stretch in your calf. And I will say this, it could be unilaterally different. You might feel less stretch or have to go more with your left than your right, because we obviously can have unilateral differentiation from my left and right in regards to extensibility within the calf structures. Now we just completed my gastroc stretch, and as I said, the second main muscle group associated with the ankle is my soleus. So I need to do the same exercise slash concept and create extensibility in the soleus. Now my setup is going to be a little different so I can hit that soleus muscle separate from the gastroc. So concept is going to be the same. I'm going to use a wall or a machine and I'm going to push in. Setup is going to be very similar in that the toe is going to be pointed to the wall and the heel stays on the ground. Now the big difference is, I'm going to do it again with my left leg, is for the gastroc, I had the leg straight, if you recall. Now to hit the soleus, in order to recruit that muscle group, I need to bend the knee, all right? And then from this bent position, I'm going to push into the wall till I feel that stretch in the calf complex. So it's going to feel a little different. I usually feel it a little below where I felt the gastroc stretch. But again, concepts are the same. Find your tissue tension point, press into the wall for 30 seconds, and when I do this exercise, toe stays straight, heel stays glued to the floor. And then again, when I'm done with the left, I'm going to go back to the right, same concept, same setup, same execution for 30 seconds. So at this point, I've covered 2 exercises for the soft tissues to create extensibility. Now what I'm going to do is actually add 2 dynamic range of motion, or what I would call corrective exercises, to basically move that ankle joint through some various ranges of motion. Now at this point, we've actually covered creating extensibility in the calf structure and the gastroc soleus. Now we know that I have multiple ranges of motion in the ankle joint: plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion. So after I create extensibility in the soft tissues, I want to work through those ranges of motion. So these exercises, these next 2 exercises, I'm going to do for repetitions. And the goal of these exercises is move through a dynamic range of motion, focusing on the ankle joint. So the first exercise we're going to do is what I call knee presses or wall presses. So all I'm going to do is ultimately I'm going to use a wall. This is best performed on a wall, a little harder on a machine, because the wall is going to be a guide for me to perform this exercise. And the concept is going to be, is I'm going to be in a position. I can be in a kickstand position or a long lunge position. What I'm going to do is I'm going to think about pressing my knee forward over the knee to the wall. Now when I do that press movement, I want to keep the heel on the ground because I'm creating greater range of motion within that ankle joint. Obviously you're going to do this for both ankles. And then again, how many repetitions? With this, since it's a dynamic or corrective exercise, I like a single set of 10 to 15 repetitions. But again, this is after you do your flexibility or extensibility exercises. So how I do this, I'll start on the right today since I did the last 2 on the left. So from here, I usually go into a kickstand position because it gives me a little better range of motion. But my toe is going to be moved off the wall at least a couple inches, because again, the goal is I want this knee to track past the toes and think about hitting the wall. You don't have to hit the wall, but that's your concept. So from here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to brace the heel into the ground. I'm going to press the knee forward. And as you can see, I'm getting close to the wall. I don't have to get to the wall. And then I come back, nice and controlled. So press the knee forward, and then press the knee backwards or extend the leg. So like I said, nice and controlled, 10 to 15 repetitions. And again, when I finish with the right, I'm obviously going to do the left. I'm going to do the same setup, a couple inches from the wall. I like to go into a kickstand position. You could put foot flat, doesn't matter to me. Like I said, the key is drive the knee past the toe, keep the heel on the ground, so I press forward and then back. Again, pressing forward nice and controlled, you don't have to touch the wall, then come back. So with this exercise, I'm looking to create range of motion within the ankle joint. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some rotational or diagonal movement into that same concept with our last exercise. We are on to our last exercise within the ankle complex, and we're focusing on range of motion, dynamic range of motion. So if you recall, we did our extensibility, our static stretches first for the gastroc and soleus. So after we're done with creating extensibility within the soft tissues, then we can start to look at range of motion. So my first exercise is basically a linear knee press into the wall. So I'm working on that range of motion in just one plane of motion for the ankle joint. Now this second exercise, I'm going to get some diagonal motion within that same process. Why is that? Because my ankle has multiple ranges of motion, multiple planes of movement. So I want to develop those multiple planes of motion or movement within the ankle. So I'm going to utilize exercises that mimic those patterns to develop that. So again, concept and setup is the same as our linear pattern, but what I'm going to do now is rather than just pressing the knee straight into the wall, I'm going to angle it in and I'm going to angle it out. And then if you want to get real creative, you can do linear and angular at the same time. I can go out, center, and then in. But let's just do the angulars, and if you like, you can combine the linear as well. How many repetitions? As I said, single set, 10 to 15 repetitions after your static stretches. So I'll do right again here. So again, I get into the position about 2 inches away from the wall. Key is, again, the heel stays glued to the ground. I go into a kickstand position. You don't have to, but if you recall, I'm going to angle the knee inward towards the wall, keeping the heel on the ground, and then coming back. And like I said, I don't have to touch the wall, but what I want to do is I want to track that knee past the toes in an angular action for 10 to 15 repetitions. Now I get 10 repetitions going inward, then I'm going to track it outward over my toes and then back. Like I said, I don't have to touch the wall. The key is to keep the heel cemented to the floor, nice and controlled, range of motion, going outward or tracking the knee outward for 10 to 15 repetitions. So, and again, if you want to get creative, you can add all the motions together. I can go in, I can go linear, and then I can go out. So again, I will do 10 repetitions going in, 10 repetitions going out. On my right leg, then I will transition, do the same concept and exercise with my left leg. Now, before we wrap up this video, if you are liking what you've seen and want to see more, press the subscribe button. If you have comments or questions, please put them down below. I will certainly get back to you with a response. So let's again talk about the ankle. So the ankle basically has multiple ranges of motion: dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, inversion, eversion. If I'm limited in my joint mobility in the ankle, I can have issues with my knees, I can have issues with my ankle in terms of basically performing activities and actions, but then discomfort throughout the day. So if that is the case and we're looking to create ankle mobility, I want to start with creating extensibility within the soft tissues. So that's what we would call our static stretches. So with my static stretches, I'm going to focus on the two main muscle groups associated with the ankle, which is your gastroc and your soleus. I'm going to perform the soft tissue extensibility or static stretches in the correct position. I'm going to go to that tissue tension point. I'm going to hold that position for at least 30 seconds. Why 30 seconds? Because basically that allows extensibility within the soft tissues. After I complete the extensibility exercises for the structures associated with the calf, I'm going to go through dynamic ranges of motion, which are associated in terms of plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion. So what I'm going to do is basically what I call knee presses or wall presses. I'm going to track the knee past my toes towards the wall, keeping the heel on the ground to develop those ranges of motion within the ankle. I'll start linear, and then I'll start to add diagonal components because I know I have multiple ranges of motion or planes of motion within the ankle joint, and I need to develop all of them. So again, if you have questions, please leave a comment. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again.